Welcome to the Michael Rivero What Really Happened radio program.
And aloha, America. Welcome to the show. It's Monday, the start of another week of insanity and craziness here, and I keep forgetting to turn that little bell off here. Well, from the noise, you know that our chat room is open at whatreallyhappened.com. The webcam is running. The phone lines are open, and we're rock and roll, ready, full tilt boogie to just go for the truth, justice, and for all of you free-range humans, the Rangers, the free-range humans stepping off the line, out of the box, and over the barbed wire. Phone number is 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. Matt is in the control room, ready to answer your phones, and let's start off right from the top. Okay, if you have been staying with our website over the weekend, yes, we are still under hacker attack. We seem to be beating it back at the moment. Of course, we don't know what other dirty tricks they're going to come up with. We have been under DOS attacks. Our ISP has confirmed we're under denial of service attack. As the new IPs come online to attack us, they're basically tracking them. They've got this automated thing that's basically an IP hits us too often, too fast. It's added to the block list automatically. So that's up and running. We've got a bunch of other new stuff that's in there. And so far, at least for the moment, we seem able to beat these back. Every once in a while, the website will go down for a couple of minutes, 5 minutes maybe, but then it comes right back up. So if you're coming to whatreallyhappened.com and you're seeing problems, go away, get a cup of coffee, whatever, check your mail, and then come on back. Usually we're up at the moment. Some other websites are not as lucky. The Truth Seeker out of Great Britain has been down completely offline for going on an entire week. The Rents website is just getting beat to death right now with all of this stuff going on. It means that something is getting ready to happen. When they start attacking all these websites where the truth is getting out, it means they're getting very, very scared, or something really big is about to happen. And considering that they're trotting out the dead guy again, Osama bin Goldstein, it's all over the media. He's released a new tape. He says he hates us. He's coming to get us unless we bow down before the government in Washington, D.C. Blah, you know, the usual stuff. And, of course, it's insulting. They think it's going to work. I mean, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 427 times, shame on me. And they keep doing it all over and all over again. Call it Weekend at Binny's, I guess, here. Now, speaking of the weekend, I am so proud of everybody who went to Washington, D.C. on Saturday and took part in that protest. You scared the stuffings out of the government and the media. It has been almost amusing to watch the government propagandists and media talking heads try and trivialize this and minimize it. We had people over at some of the more radical pro-government websites, pro-Israel websites, saying it's all a fake. They faked the photos. There really weren't any people there, and just on and on and on. Folks, we just got it from the National Park Service itself. This was the largest event on record. Now, the media is trying to say, oh, well, it's just GOP agitators, or it's just racists, or it's just the malcontents, and they just don't want to pay their fair share of taxes and all. And they're just trying to think anything they can think of to try and undercut what's really going on. Because if you look at those signs, take a look at the photos. We put up a bunch of them at our website already. Look at the photos. Look at the agendas on the photos. It is covering the entire political spectrum. It's not just GOP. It's not just the health care. There are signs out there, shut down the Federal Reserve. That's not a GOP core position. That's not anything to do with health care. Everybody's out there. They're getting angry. And the message it is sending, both to the government, to the rest of America, is it's okay to be angry with the government. It has become fashionable and trendy. And so I applaud. Even though they weren't wearing What Really Happened T-shirts and I didn't see any What Really Happened signs, I applaud all of those people who went to Washington, D.C. and stood up and made a noise. I don't expect the government to listen, but they are paying attention. And you scared them. You can tell just from the way they're trying to spin this and make it go away. And sure enough, right on cue, we get the Osama bin Laden videotape, and we get warnings about dire terror this and horrible that. If you do, and the talking heads were going nuts about how completely unreasonable the 10th Amendment people are, how the government, it's perfectly legal whatever the government does because of the General Welfare Clause in Article 1 of the Constitution. And the law is the law, and we should all obey the law, and the law says the government can take your money and spend it on Israel and bombs and whatever. Okay, I have a response to that. I think we've reached a point where talking about what is legal or not is moot, because the U.S. government does violate the law. They've been torturing people. That's against U.S. law. We have federal judges admitting the 16th Amendment wasn't ratified. The government is breaking the law every time they try and invoke that. We know the government has been lying to us. That's not legal. That's not covered by the General Welfare Clause, okay? So the bottom line is, I think we're kind of past the point of caring whether something is the law or not, because our government's not following the law. But even if it was, folks, I want you to listen to something and consider this very carefully. Everything Adolf Hitler did was legal under the law of the time. Everything Stalin did was legal under the laws. Everything Pol Pot did was legal under the laws. Did that make any of it right? Did it make the people right to go along with it just because it was the law? Slavery used to be the law in the United States. We understand that was bad law, and there was a war fought to overturn that. Our government makes bad laws. During World War II, people were thrown into concentration camps here in the United States just because they were Japanese. No other reason. We all know it was a bad law. We know the government acted wrongly. And those Americans who went along with it share the guilt. Now we have the torture situation. People being tortured to death to find weapons of mass destruction that never even existed in the first place. And everybody who went along with that shares the guilt. So just because it's the law does not make it right. Every one of those convictions that sentenced a convicted witch to being burned alive at the stake throughout Europe in the Middle Ages was sound in logic and law. Yet we know there really was no such thing as witchcraft. The courts and the governments and the church screwed up, to be most generous about it. Just because something is the law does not mean it is the right thing to be doing. Everything Hitler did was legal. Everything he did was legal. Was he right? No, he wasn't. Of course he wasn't. Were the Germans right going along with him because it was the law? No, they weren't right. Of course a government is going to say that everything they do is legal. That's part of the scam on getting the people to go along with immoral, unethical actions, wars on other people's countries, so forth and so on. Anyway, as an indicator of just how scared the government is getting of the town hall meetings, of the protests, of all the rest of it, we are now seeing these portable torture devices on display at the town hall meetings. We're seeing the microwave pain ray machines that are mounted on the Hummers, and we're seeing the LRADs, the long-range audio device. It's a very loud loudspeaker, puts out a raucous noise, gets in your ears, gets in your gut, very upsetting, very, very painful situation. Now, right now, they're just on display. It's a show of arms. It's a brandishment. You know, if you don't behave, we will flog you back to your farms and fields. You uppity Americans, you. That's the message you're sending out. We can hurt you. And for all the high technology that you're seeing there, LRAD this and microwave that, the philosophical perception has not changed since the Dark Ages. If you dare speak truth to power, they will flog you back to your farms and fields and put you back to work to make the rich people richer. That's what these vehicles signify. The preparedness to flog you back to where they think you belong. That's what's going on. Now, they haven't turned them on yet, and I don't think they're going to. And the reason I don't think they're going to is the side that starts shooting and inflicting harm and pain and damage and death first will lose the moral high ground in the perceptions of the world. The instant the U.S. turns on these pain machines, it'll be seen as a new Amritsar, which signaled the end of British rule in India, or a new Kent State, which signaled the end of the war party here in the United States. So I don't think they're going to do it just yet. It's just for show. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
See how far 5:15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And and aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. Now, if you were listening to the news break before we came into our show here, you heard where Barack Obama is out there saying, well, the economic storms of the past 2 years are beginning to abate, or whatever it was he said there. First of all, they wouldn't even admit that there was an economic problem until this time last year. So, I mean, the credibility is already shot here. But today, the Treasury Department, the U.S. Government Treasury Department, the place where they used to make the money, issued a new report titled The Next Phase of Government Financial Stabilization and Rehabilitation Policies. And in this report, it says flat out, the banks and financial institutions will need to remain on life support for the indefinite future. In other words, the bailouts must continue. They're propping up the banks and financial institutions because they've destroyed the job market. There's no money down here among us poor working people.